It's Ludum Dare 55, and we're racking our brains for ideas. The theme is summonings, and we don't need to be the 1500th team to do something with demons and pentagrams. In high school, I was actually voted most likely to not put a pentagram in my Ludum Dare 55 game jam entry. And I'm not about to let my hometown down. We could go the route of the legal summons, but we figure a good quarter of entries will stretch that same direction. So we break the word up into sum and munning to see if there's anything to work with there. And did you know munning is a Norwegian word for the openings of things? We don't know what to do with that, but Ash isn't about to waste any time, so she dives deep into rivers and bottles, just dredging for inspiration. I'm not sold, so I keep Googling, and I find this guy, this English painter, Sir Alfred James Munnings, stellar name by the way, congrats. Dude paints almost nothing but horses. I'm like, this is it. I don't know what it is, but I know it's this. So now I have to choose my words carefully, okay? Gotta plan my attack. Get a good sales pitch together, because if I can't get Ash on board, she's in! We put our heads together and we come up with this pitch where you're the world's foremost expert on the works of Sir Alfred James Munnings. Someone's found a big trunk of old shiz in their house. They want to know if it's valuable, sort of Antiques Roadshow style. A lot of it is horse paintings, and so you're there to identify any authentic Munnings. It's a simple game. I show you a piece of art, you tell me if it's a legitimate Munnings or not, and we move on to the next one. Obviously, that's not really a game yet, so we'll put in a time limit so you're racing against the clock to identify as many as possible, give you points for the ones you get right, and maybe as a stretch goal, we'll throw in an online leaderboard. Think of the frenzied, panicked energy as you try to evaluate high art while a house burns down around. We should have the house burning down around them to justify the timer. Ash, write that down. Oh, that was Ash's idea. Call it some Munnings. Done, perfect, ship it. No one will complain about our theme interpretation. We're good. Next morning, we get to work. We think it'd be funny if you ruin the paintings you certify with this massive stamp and reject paintings by kicking them into the wall and they explode. Throw a horse sound effect in there, obviously. This is pretty good. This is really good. Now here's what you need to understand. We work on this game for 2 days, right? It's self-imposed. The jam's actually 3 days long. We're just using it to take a break from a detective game we're working on. So we work on it for 2 days. For one of those days, we work on this kick. It's making us cry laugh, so if we're not working on it, then what are we even doing out here? Throughout that, we're riffing on ways to make the game more interesting or more funny. What if the rules keep changing and you have progressively more and more things to watch out for? Like halfway through, we decide we're only interested in works Munnings created after he was knighted, so now you have to double check the dates too. Completely overwhelm the player with compounding rules while they race against the clock to rack up points. We run with this idea, and eventually, the game mutates into this vehicle for jokes. We start informing the player of the rules changes after they're in effect, so it feels like the game is cheating, and we make them just completely unfair. Ash is losing her mind editing men in horse costumes into classic works of art. You certify a Munnings, maybe, and we add another unpredictable new rule. The game mocks you when you're wrong. The works you're shown devolve into absurdism. The rules inflate beyond any semblance of reasonability. The game has a mind of its own now. We're nearing the end of day 2, our self-imposed deadline. It's 1 a.m. We're submitting in a few hours. The game's full of unpolished visual errors, the rules text isn't rendering nicely, we've only done half the jokes, and we still have core features to add, like finally implementing the time limit. The time limit's not in the game yet! But we're thinking we probably need to playtest this thing right now because everyone we know is going to be asleep soon. We reach out to my buddy Meowgi, and bless this man's heart, he agrees to stop doing whatever pointless bullshit he's doing to playtest our weird horse paintings game in the middle of the night. I don't tell him anything. We need to know if the game explains what it expects of you properly, if the vibe works, you get it. So I'm watching Buddy play the game, and it works. I'm watching it work. He's having fun, he's laughing, and I realize it's done. The game's just a series of jokes. We know that. We've known that for a while now. The whole point is to make the player laugh, and it's doing that. That's it. That's it. So listen to me. We scrap every feature we were planning to implement. We don't need them. Time limit, gone. Leaderboard? Gone. What's the point of even having a numeric score? This isn't a competitive game. Change the scores to gags. More fun. Lower stakes. We finish the last few jokes, build the game, and in a pool of 1,679 submissions, we take 23rd in fun and first place in humor, with a game that only has half the stuff we planned on putting in it. There's a lesson here, I think, that artists of all sorts can learn. I've had to relearn it countless times in my life, and it certainly applies to game dev. You need to let things become what they are. It's easy to want to maintain control of your art. We made a plan, we have a game design document here, we have to stick to it, right? We could have heard Meowgi's positive feedback and taken it as permission to continue full steam ahead. The game has no problems, but the fact that we're not done it and there's no problems is a problem if we continue with the plan. It doesn't matter what we're trying to make, it matters what we're making. And the things our playtester likes most about the game aren't the things our planned features will improve. When we decided to skip that timer mechanic that was in our initial concept, we relinquished control. We let the game tell us what it was. A time limit would have ruined the game too. We didn't even know that at the time, and we didn't need to. We already had a good enough reason to cut it. This wasn't a time panic game anymore. There's no need for more mechanics, so we just didn't add any. And we're so lucky we didn't, because in retrospect, it's obvious why a time limit was a terrible idea. Under time pressure, you're not incentivized to read and take in the jokes. You're incentivized to skip them and just push on. Go, 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 go. Under time pressure, you don't spend as long trying to predict the next rug pull. And that makes you less invested in the reveal. If you're panicked, right? If you're like, I don't know, it's a Munnings. If you're right, it's just, okay, cool. And if you're wrong, it's just like, whatever. And you move on to the next one as fast as you can. It's not, it feels weird to say this about a comedy game, but it's not a rich experience. It's not affecting. But if you spend a good long think on it, trying to outsmart the game, when you're right, it's, I knew it! And when you're wrong, it's this like, oh my god, dude. We watched some streamers play the game, and we loved seeing them have that experience. An experience that needs that room to breathe, that levity. You know, the cliche goes that you shouldn't try to invent things, but discover them. That's why all these game dev YouTubers keep telling you to iterate. Iteration is a tool you use to discover what works. If your game doesn't change while you're making it, how could it ever get better? If you sit down and draft up a game concept and then succeed in making that exact concept with no additional or omitted features, that game sucks. That game sucks. You can't make a better game in your head than you can through experimentation. Did we make the game we set out to invent? This race against the clock to find the valuable art and get the high score cognitive overload panic game? No. Did we discover something 100 times better? I think so. Are we therefore even responsible? Was it all just an accident? Who cares? Thanks for watching.